Hello, my name's Lizzie Harper and I'm recording this today from my studio in Hay-on-Wye, and I'm an illustrator. You can check out my website www.lizzieharper.co.uk. Now today I'm going to talk about the steps involved in creating a painting, and what I want to do today is a picture of oystercatchers on a cliff with lots of sort of seaside flowers like thrift and squill. The first thing you always have to do is find your reference. Now I've got a certain amount of zoological knowledge and I also keep sketchbooks, but often you do have to refer to photos as well. And if you're referring to photos, it's always really important to make sure that you're not stealing anybody else's images or infringing their copyright. Luckily for me, for this job, I've got a really good source of copyright-free images. So what you do is you get your reference all together. So you can see here the photos that I'm going to be using of the oystercatcher, and you can see here I've drawn them up. So I've used different elements of the photos to make the picture that I want. There's one in flight there, a bit out of focus, and there's one in the foreground. Now the foreground I'm going to draw in a bit later using details from my botanical notebooks. This is one of my botanical notebooks, so it's full of pages of studies of plants, and on each of these there's what the plant looks like, what colours are involved, how I can mix those colours, where I found it. And because I'm going to be doing a lot of thrift, I've got it open at the page of thrift, which is just here. Now, not only do I keep these botany notebooks, but I also take photos wherever I am to back this knowledge up. So these are some photos of thrift that I took in Pembrokeshire in the spring. So the next thing you do when you've got your reference together is you come up with thumbnails to figure out what you're going to make the picture look like. Now, with this one, I knew I wanted an oystercatcher in the foreground with some thrift. There's the oystercatcher, there's the thrift. The text says Diary 2013, and there's a little flying bird. So I knew I needed to gather those elements. And it was only by doing these quick thumbnails that I realised actually I wanted him facing us with his head turned sideways rather than in profile. So once I'd done that, I could use the elements to draw up this, which is the rough. The text I did using something very cunning, which is my lovely projector, which is here. And this is brilliant because I'm going to have to shut the blind for a second. Whoops. There we go. Because what you can do is you can make images smaller or larger. So in here we have the text, Diary 2013. And a piece of paper here. You can see that I can make that much bigger, or bigger again, or smaller, whatever, and then you can just, this is projected onto the paper, you can just draw around it, and that's what I've done to get the text in. So that's what I've done thus far on this project, and now what I need to do is get my paints out and get painting. And here's my paint box. Open it up. There's the paintbrushes, there's the water, there's the drawing. Better get to work. Right, I've now managed to get most of the background is done, really, on the oystercatcher painting, and I've started to work into the oystercatcher. So I'm now going to show you what we've got so far. So here we go. Now, you can see this is the bird, the oystercatcher. I don't know how focused this is, but you can see that what I've done is I've worked into the oystercatcher with lots of tiny little brush strokes, and this right now just shows where the black is going to be, and I'm going to build and build and build on that until it looks all glossy and sleek. The little oystercatcher in the sky I've done, and all this stuff going on down here I've done too. I won't focus in on it, but basically I've done a lot of work with these. Are milkwort, these tiny little blue ones, which were to echo the squill, which is another spring flower. There's all the thrift here in the background, and then there's right here in the foreground some big ones, so you can see exactly what's going on with the anatomy of the flower. Here's some lichen on a rock, which is very common in Pembrokeshire, which is where this oystercatcher is going to be from. And we've also got bird's foot trefoil, which are some yellow flowers that you often find in this kind of substrate, kind of limestoney coastal. Daisies as well, they're there. And it just means that all these colours now have to be echoed in the white of the breast area of the oystercatcher, and it should all work out quite nicely actually. It's going well. I'm quite pleased with it thus far. So yeah, so once it's finished, I'll give you an update on how it's gone. And that's what the paint box looks like right now. Oh, what a mess. Right, I've finished the painting now. The sharpness on this camera isn't quite what I'd like, but you could always link through to my website, www.lizzieharper.co.uk, to see the original scan up there, nice and crisp. Anyway, so it's gone quite well. I'm quite pleased about this. So we've got the orange of the Oystercatcher's beak and his eye, and we've got his legs there, and I've put some orange into these flowers as well, and also up there to echo the colours. And I think the black has worked quite well on his neck, and there's certainly some pink from the flowers in there and some blues as well. And likewise with this white area, which I said I was going to work into, there's all sorts of different colours that are in the surroundings there, so that it doesn't look too stark. So there we are. So it's finished, and I'm quite pleased with it actually. There are various things that obviously one would like to change. It's always the way when you finish a painting. But overall, I'm quite pleased with this one, and thank you very much for taking the time to see how one of my paintings progresses. And if you'd like to see more of my work, do visit my website, www.lizzieharper.co.uk. And that's it for now, from my studio in Hay-on-Wye.